dear friend here that hadn't seen in 20 years. So it's wonderful. Okay, so have you ever thought, how do we get back to the health that God intended for his people? Well, being healthy and fit isn't a fad or a trend. Instead, it's a lifestyle. And let's be honest, most people do not feel their best when dieting, and most diets are not sustainable or realistic. If you don't feel good when you're on a diet, you simply cannot achieve long-lasting results. So after years and years of seeing friends struggle with their health and weight, watching people literally suffer with health issues that they believed has no answer, and seeing people miss out on events or give up on dreams that they once had, I'm excited to say that I believe intermittent fasting and Plexus is the most realistic way to reach your health goals, feel your best, and to get as close as possible to what God intended for us. One very important thing to always keep in mind is this: losing weight is just the aftermath of a healthy lifestyle. I truly want people to feel their best every day. So that is why I asked my sister-in-law and friend, Christy Thompson, and my dear friend, Brittany Howard, to share their knowledge and experience in two areas: intermittent fasting and Plexus. So let's welcome Christy first, as she provides insight into the world of intermittent fasting and why she has implemented supplementation in that lifestyle. Then Brittany will share with us her knowledge about the amazing benefits of Plexus supplements in our health. Christy.
Thank you, Jana, and thank y'all for being here. Is anybody else doing intermittent fasting that's here today? Trina is, okay. Has anybody else heard of it? Yes, okay. Well, I'm gonna kind of do just some basics, so I don't want to bore y'all, but I think that there's a lot of misconceptions and myths, so I just kind of want to touch on some of the background, the basics. First of all, intermittent fasting is an eating pattern where you cycle between periods of eating and fasting. So that's where the intermittent part comes in. It's been around in various forms for ages, but was highly popularized in 2012 by BBC's documentary Eat, Fast, and Live Longer. And I did not know that until I was just getting prepared to talk to y'all today, so I actually want to go back and see if I can find that. I haven't seen that documentary. And then the book, The Fast Diet, followed by the 5-2 diet, and we'll talk about what those numbers mean. So those are some books that followed that documentary. And then subsequently, Dr. Jason Fung's 2016 bestseller, The Obesity Code. Some of y'all may have heard of that, even if you haven't heard of intermittent fasting. So it's a time-restricted eating method, and you'll hear that in intermittent fasting circles, that TRE is just time-restricted eating, where you only allow yourself to eat within a certain window of time. You'll also hear about windows. So here's the thing that makes it different, and I feel like more sustainable. It's not calorie restricting, and it's certainly not calorie counting, which is like this. And it's not restricting any food groups. So you're not trying to cut out, fat or have, low carbs or whatever. Now you can do that. It can complement different eating, other eating plans or diets, if you want to use that word. I don't use the word diet because I don't feel like it's a diet. I do feel like it's a plan or a method, and really a lifestyle. And the big thing is it's a lifestyle that you can tailor to suit your own preferences. Another big thing is that it's a free eating method. There's not any packaged food that I buy. There's nothing fancy that I have to worry about if Philo is going to have it at the grocery store. Okay, well, we don't have, we're changing from Philo to something else now. But anyway, instead of having something like that, we're allowed to eat whatever we want. And I will say more on that later, because I know that that's a little bit, what do you mean eat whatever you want? But I think that the fact that I'm not cutting anything out, I'm not tell myself, well, you're just not going to have that particular thing or that food group or that treat that you like, is why it's a lot more sustainable for people. The fact that it's not something that you're saying, you can't do this, you can't do that. Here's all the rules. So if the whole restricting your eating to a certain frame of time sounds crazy, it did sound crazy to me too. But sometimes, we have to be exposed to things, and then sometimes we have to learn more about them, and sometimes we have to see people's results before something that sounded crazy doesn't sound so crazy anymore. I asked my mom this week because I was asking her just to remind me exactly how much, because we don't necessarily talk about weight a whole lot, but she's lost gradually 30 pounds using intermittent fasting. And that gets your attention when you see that with somebody. My brother has also used intermittent fasting. He was probably the first one that I don't even think he told me the term intermittent fasting, but anyway, I just realized that he had done like an alternate day approach that I'm going to talk about. Since July-ish, I think early July, late June, whenever I started experimenting with this, I lost about 15 pounds. And then the author of this book, Delay, Don't Deny, which I recommend if you are interested in a quick rundown of how this works. Like, when I say quick, you could read it, in a few days. She lost 75 to 80 pounds in 10 months' time, and she's been maintaining that for years. I'm not sure if I have the timeline right exactly, something like 4 or 5 years. So, we're not talking about, like, she just did this, but she's probably going to gain it all back or whatever. No, she's been maintaining it. Wanted to say a couple things about what it's not, because you do encounter, some questions and that kind of thing. It's not starving. It's planning when you will eat. It's also not an eating disorder. This is just a direct quote from this book. Fasting will not cause you to develop an eating disorder, which is a psychological condition. But if you suffer from an eating disorder, fasting can exacerbate it. Another thing to think about is that if you went to sleep last night and didn't wake up, every 3 hours and have a snack, you are already fasting to an extent. I'm sure you'll know that's where we get the word breakfast from. It's breaking your fast. So it kind of starts to sound a little less odd when you think about that we already fast. It's part of how God made us. It's part of just kind of the rhythm of life. So how does it work? And I know there's some people in this room who could probably explain this a lot better than I can. This is going to be really simplistic, but because our bodies are very complex the way God made us, there's not just one hormone running the show, but insulin is the big one. And it is key to unlocking our fat stores, so where we have all that fat tucked away. The food that we eat is broken down by enzymes in our gut and eventually ends up as molecules in the bloodstream. Carbohydrates, particularly sugars and refined grains, are quickly broken down into sugar, which our cells use for energy. If our cells don't use it all, we store it in our fat cells as fat. But sugar can only enter in our cells with insulin, a hormone made in the pancreas. Insulin brings sugar into the fat cells and keeps it there. Between meals, as long as we don't snack, our insulin levels will go down, and our fat cells can start to release that stored sugar to be used as energy, which is what we want to do. We lose weight if we let our insulin levels go down. The entire idea of intermittent fasting is to allow your insulin levels to go down far enough and for long enough so that you're burning off your fat. Okay, so the author of this book, Jen Stevens, she says, our problem is we're in a constantly fed state instead of fasted state, so we're not ever getting a chance to access the stored fat that we have. metabolism, if that sounds familiar, then that is one of many reasons why we're in that constantly fed state. We've heard that a lot for a long time from a lot of different sources. So the bottom line is, at any point in time of the day, you can either be burning fuel from the last meal you ate, which you will do, like that's normal, that's right, or you can be burning stored fat from your body. So the way IF works is to try to, yes, I'm going to use that fuel that I took in, but then I'm going to fast long enough that I've burned through that, and my body is going to start choosing to use the stored fat for energy, because my insulin's gone down and it's allowing it to be released. So it's insulin that holds the key to the fat that's already in your fat cells. It's a fat storing hormone. So just remember that. Having lots of circulating insulin in your bloodstream equals having efficient fat storage, which is not what you want, and very little fat burning. Intermittent fasting provides a way to access our stored fat and keep our metabolisms working at high speed so that we can maintain our weight loss. We don't just want to have some weight loss. The goal would be to keep it off, right? And so that's kind of the magic of fasting too. I think sometimes it's counterintuitive, and it seems like from everything we've heard, when we've got to eat a lot to keep your metabolism going, then what's going to happen if my body's going to go into some starvation mode and slow way down? Well, the whole thing with fasting, intermittent fasting, because that's absolutely true. If you were to just fast, your body would slow the metabolism to try to keep you alive. But that's for long term. We're talking about intermittent fasting. I think I was listening to something Thursday that said that I don't want to say it because this isn't right, but maybe like it would take 50 or 60 hours before you would get to that point where its metabolism is going to start to go down. So all that to say, it's way longer than nobody's talking about fasting for that long. So the magic is that it keeps your body from perceiving that you're in a calorie deficit, because you have plenty of stored energy on your body, so you can finally access that energy efficiently. Your body doesn't get the signal that you're in an energy deficit, so your metabolism doesn't slow. So real quick, what are the health benefits beyond weight loss? And I say real quick, but y'all, these are some awesome things. I'm still learning about how it all works, but for one, increased cognitive function. We'd all get excited about that. There's anti-aging benefits, possible protection against cancer and various neurological diseases, and I'll kind of get back to where that comes in. Reduces inflammation, improved metabolism, like I already mentioned. Trina, you have to help me make sure I say this right. Stimulates autophagy, is that right? Okay. Which is a recycling and cleanup process that naturally occurs in the body, where you're kind of like taking out the garbage, you're removing the damaged cellular components, including misfolded proteins, which doesn't mean a lot to me, but it's a big deal, and that's where you get some of the protection against disease and anti-aging properties. It's like your body gets to do that self-cleaning. So that's autophagy, if you want to check that out. Thanks, Carmen. And then I just read this week too, when I was getting ready to talk to y'all, that may be particularly beneficial for women during menopause. I was like, yes, I started this just in time to hopefully, be warding off some of that. It could help support our mental health during menopause by enhancing self-esteem, as well as reducing stress levels and symptoms of anxiety and depression. So how do I get started? I'll just briefly say, because like literally anybody that's sitting here could go home, today and start this if they decide they wanted to. Like I said, you don't have to go to the store, you don't have to, you can do a daily eating window that's like a certain amount of time during the day, There's 16-8, some people do, and when you hear those numbers, the first number is how long they're fasting, and the second number is the eating window. Some do more like 20 and 4, and all of this is adding up to 24, so we're looking at the, and then the other way you can go about this is what my brother did, is you can do what they call an up-down day. And then when you hear numbers, they're talking about days. So if I say 5-2, and I don't mean 5 in a row, but you have 5 days of eating normally. When I say normally, like maybe just what you think of as traditional, amount of eating. And then 2 days are your fasting days. But on those days, generally, they say you're allowed to eat like up to 500 calories, so it's just a really reduced. And if you notice, I didn't say calories on that one, and that is why I don't do alternate day fasting or the up-down day approach, because I don't want to have to, I don't want to have to deal with that. Some people do 4-3, and then of course, they're mixing the fast days in. You wouldn't be doing them in a row. And then some people do alternate day fasting, or ADF, and that really is just every other day. So those are kind of 2 different ways you can look at it, either the daily eating window or the alternating days, where you have some days that are up days and some days that are down days in terms of your eating. So what I find is that the best thing, if somebody does want to start, is just to start gradually and then try different approaches to find what works, so you find what works for you. I would never recommend somebody just decide, I'm, not going to eat for the next, 20 hours or whatever, on day 1. Some different things that Jen mentions in the book is if you are used to eating, typically, say 7 in the morning and not stopping until, bedtime, maybe have a one-nighttime snack or whatever, or something to drink, whatever. You can think about skipping breakfast maybe to start, or you can think about doing really low carbs for what you do have in that early part of the day as you try to push your window down. And again, there I did say low carb, but again, after I said, we're not restricting anything, well, those would just be things to try to help you ease into getting into where you can have a little bit of a longer fast. Okay, so this is big. What breaks the fast? And honestly, experts disagree on this. So I'll share with y'all a couple of ways that people look at it, and then I will tell y'all, what I do. Some say that, we're talking about fasting from food, so not having food, and then not having any drinks with calories, or if you have something with calories, like minimal, like 20 to 30 to 50 or whatever. Well, there you go again, you're having to count something. But also, there's a whole other side that looks at just the sweet taste release, it causes insulin release, even in the absence of calories. So I've chosen to kind of make my fast what they call a clean fast, because as soon as you have something sweet, some studies have shown that you do have some insulin release. And circulating insulin, like we said before, prevents fat burning, and you might even start burning muscle mass rather than fat, because if you're having a little something enough to spike your insulin, but you're not, really having any fuel, so you really don't have anything circulating in your bloodstream to pull from, you could start burning muscle mass, and we do not want to do that. So in that, if you're looking to do a clean fast in that way, you can drink lots and lots of water. You can have black, unflavored coffee. You can have herbal but not fruity tea, because you're trying to stay away from the sweet anything that's sweet. You can have carbonated water, but you even want to stay away from the ones that are, they have sweetened not sweetened, but fruit flavored, and we're trying to stay away from the sweet taste, not just calories. So again, I'll just say there's some people who do this and they do allow for some flavor or fruit flavors or whatever with what they're drinking during their fast, and then some who do not. And that's the way I try it. You'll hear that called a pure fast or a clean fast. And real quick, just to be clear, because while I think this could be great for a lot of people, there are people who should not intermittent fast, and children is definitely an age group that does not need to intermittent fast. Their bodies are still growing. They need to be fueled more frequently than our adult bodies do. Pregnant and breastfeeding women, for obvious reasons, the same reasons. And then anyone who has been diagnosed with an eating disorder, people with advanced diabetes or who are on meds for diabetes should really, if they're considering working this into their health regimen, and really anyone with health conditions, period, should consult their doctor before starting any kind of fasting regimen. So my favorite thing is just the flexibility. There's a sentence in here that I love that says, it isn't a jail sentence, it's a lifestyle. And that is really, I think, what I like about this eating method, and why I think I can keep it up. Like I say, I've lost that weight, but the fact that I feel like I can keep it off and just continue to be healthier. My window is flexible. I don't want to talk too long. If anybody is curious about that, I can talk to you more later. But I generally fast. And I don't even really want to say times because it is flexible, but I'll just say a ballpark about 2 o'clock in the afternoon is when I open my window, and then I'll close it. Really, again, it's also a ballpark. I don't know. I'm just saying 7-ish, and the best thing about that is I can work it to what I maybe have going on that day. We're in soccer right now. Sometimes we don't get home till 8 o'clock, so we may not get to eat until then, and that's okay. On Sundays we eat at Miss Marmel's house, and I'm not going to miss that. So I'll open my window a little early that day. Again, it's a lifestyle. It's not a jail sentence for me. And the other thing, maybe my second favorite sentence, is that you're not married to intermittent fasting, so you can't cheat on it. So it's okay to have occasional planned indulgences. It's not cheating. It's like trying to get away from that mindset of I'm dieting and then I'm cheating on this diet if I don't do something just right. No, nobody does anything just right, first of all. And then second of all, just the knowing that you can, I plan to do something differently on such and such a day. We have this brunch for the ladies coming up. I'm telling y'all what I thought when it was coming up. It's not coming up now. We already had it. So I knew in my mind that Saturday I was going to do something different, and then I was going to get right back into what I've been doing. So the holidays are coming up, same thing. Embrace those planned indulgences. Pay attention to your body's signals and how it makes you feel, because you might realize, after my body has adapted to, and she calls it being fat adapted in the book, to burning your fat during fasting times, you realize that how good you feel, and you might feel uncomfortable on those days that you have those planned indulgences. There's lots of good resources, books and apps that'll keep up with your window for you. I have not explored those a whole lot because I do keep mine kind of flexible, so I'm not necessarily waiting for the app to tell me, oh, okay, it's okay for me to have something now, or oh, I gotta stop right this second and can't have anything else. But those could be really helpful for some people, and they are certainly available. There is this whole world out there. There's blogs, coaching services. So and I think I didn't put this in my notes, so this might be kind of, I don't want to, because I really didn't mean to. When I said it allows you to eat whatever you want, more on that later. What I did want to say was, I didn't cut out, like, I can't have this, I can't have that, but certainly what you eat matters, right? We know that. We know what we put in our bodies matters. So I feel like this has had this, crazy kind of snowball effect of I pay much more attention to what I put in my body. I'm much more careful about what I'm eating. I know that I want to make the food count. I want to make it worth it, if that makes sense. It does, when you fasted for 14, 16, 18, however many hours, for people who do the window approach like I do, you don't want to open your fast with a Coke and a donut. Like, that's gonna make you feel terrible. So I mean, thinking along those lines, I did just want to come back and say that, because I do want to be careful saying, well, eat what you want. Well, it's not that, like there's just this big permission, okay, I can just eat whatever I want. She says, weight's just gonna fall off or whatever. I think we're all sensible and can get that, but I did just want to mention that, and that's really where Plexus has come in for me. Like, I know I'm getting older. I know that I don't always eat exactly like I should. I want to have good things going inside of me, and the more I was learning about Plexus from Jana and different friends, I know that that supplements can be extremely helpful and really, if y'all listen to some of the things that I was saying, health benefits beyond weight loss, I mean, goes hand in hand with the benefits that you can get from great supplements like what Plexus offers. I also, at the same time, was kind of starting this journey and thinking about supplements more than I ever had before. I read some testimonies of how the Plexus products have really helped with people mental health, and so I just was really intrigued by, okay, I know that my body needs this for physical health, and just thinking more about too, could I see some positive results mentally as well? That would be huge, just for along the lines of anxiety and stress and those kind of things. So I think that was really everything I wanted to say. Y'all have any questions? I'm very much more comfortable talking to people one-on-one, so if y'all like to ask me any questions more specifically about what I do. I will say this real quick. So the first thing that I do break my fast with is Plexus Slim, because I know that that's a good start to that, and it helps kind of curb that sense of, I don't want to just eat all the things. I want to make sure that I'm making good choices during my eating time. And I didn't talk a lot about this either, but I'm talking about more privately the way I kind of fit, the supplements in, because I know some people are like, well, I take this in the morning. Well, I don't, take anything in the morning, but I still, work things in, whether it's taking the Slim when I open my window or ending, with a couple things too. So I'll hand it over to Brittany, because that is her department for sure. She has all the good stuff. Yeah.
What's your time frame in between, like when you start with your Slim, then when's the next time you have something to eat?
So I'll just go ahead, in the next, probably within the hour for sure. So yeah, I go ahead and, because you're talking about with food,
right,
getting more in. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let me tell you something about her. When we went to the ladies' retreat, she had, I'll say a normal plate from about five, probably fix my plate, maybe a little bit more. I don't know that it was. Then she kept on going, I'm going to get me some more. Go back and get a piece of chicken. She ate all of her dessert, all of the food on her plate, and I think, she is eating a lot of food to be so thin. But that was what happened. She very healthy food, but she ate too much, I tell you that right now. You think you're gonna starve, you just look at her and you won't starve.
I have a question, Chrissy. What about working out? I've read a couple different things about that. When should you work out, during your fast time or during your eating time?
Yeah, so the best way I can answer that, and I hate to give it sound like a non-answer, but if you already have a way that you like to work that, like if you already like to have eaten something before you work out, or if you already like to eat and then, that might be the same thing. I might not be saying what I want to say, or work out and then know you're going to eat after that. It's almost just whatever you know you already like to do. You can still fit it in with your window, if that makes sense. So I've been really surprised to find that I do okay in the mornings, getting some exercise in, even though I'm not gonna feel my body so much later. Now, I mean, I might work that differently if I was, doing more strenuous or long lasting, like when I was, training to run half marathon or something like that. But I have not had, that's the other thing, I don't know if I really said enough about how good I feel doing this. Again, I do not think it would be sustainable and I'm not saying on day one, like it may take some time to get your body getting used to it, but another thing you could do is if you like to have eaten before you exercise, definitely then you want to close your window, or even during. So I've done all three. I've done before, I've done during when I've had something, and then I've also done all the way after.
So there's no really certain right or wrong way.
Right. I don't think so. I think it's figuring out how that goes for your own body. So thank y'all. How about too long?
No, that was so great. I know you probably could have gave so much more information. It was so good. I love the simplicity of it. 2 pages of notes. That is just very realistic. It's a very doable thing, and I really appreciate you sharing that with us. Just a lot of knowledge there. Christy, thank you so much. And that's a good question about the exercise, because I've read a couple of different things too about that, but probably right, just what works for you. Okay, so Brittany's now going to come share more about Plexus products with us. And I think you'll see that, a lot of what Christy talked about, which is insulin, Brittany will also share that with us, which is very important.
Yes, well, thank you, Christy. That was
Super informative. I learned a lot.
and I'm Brittany, and I'm so glad you're here. And so I actually am not an intermittent fasting expert, but I did start looking into it a few months ago and researching it. I love science, and so it was very intriguing to me to learn about it, but then I got pregnant, so I never actually did it. But a lot of what Christy was saying, it makes so much sense to me about why it works. And I'm going to try to tie in for you now why Plexus is the perfect complement to intermittent fasting. And first, let me start by saying your health is like a triangle. So there's 3 sides to it, and most everybody is familiar with 2 of the 3 sides. So the first side is your nutrition. Everybody knows that you need to be putting good fuel in your body, right? You can't just put any and everything you want in your body and still expect to look your best or feel your best or be healthy, right? So there's no neutral food. Everything you put in your body is either helping your body or tearing your body down. So choose wisely. And the other side of the triangle that people know about is the movement side. Like God created us to work, move, and produce, and we're not be couch potatoes. A lot of us live a sedentary lifestyle, myself included, because most of my work is sitting at a computer or on my phone. And so moving my body is something that I actually have to be intentional about. And I think a lot of people in here could relate to that. My husband doesn't have to be intentional about it because he builds houses for a living, so he's moving all day, every day. But for the way our economy is set up, especially now that a lot of people are working from home, we have to be so intentional about moving our bodies. And if you're not moving your body, that has health risks as well. So everybody knows that your nutrition is important, that your movement is important. Most people don't realize that there's a third component of your health, and that is supplementation. And I would even venture to say that that's a newer part, because supplements are important now, because you can't get everything your body needs through diet alone because of what's been done to our food supply over the past several decades. I mean, if you were to eat a bowl of spinach, you would not be getting the nutrients that your grandparents got when they were kids eating the same bowl of spinach, right? Just because everything has been industrialized, it's really just about profit, not sustainability or not nutrition. It's really just about profit and what is shelf stable and how they can make the most money. They don't rotate the crops like they should. We filter our water. Like water, a natural source of water, is actually a really good source of magnesium, like a whole lot of things. We filter our water heavily. So we have to have supplements. If you think about our ancestors, they had to grow their own food to survive, then have a big harvest. Well, the food is not going to last forever. They didn't have refrigerators, right, back then. And so to keep the food from rotting, they would ferment it. And that would make it last longer. So they were constantly replenishing their microbiome with healthy, friendly bacteria. And I'm going to talk a little bit about gut health today, but that we don't do that now. Like, we have refrigerators to keep our food lasting. We're not intentional about putting healthy bacteria in our bodies, and that's alarming because we actually have more bacterial cells. We're 10 to 1 bacteria to human cells, and your microbiome is going to determine a lot about your health. So anyways, supplements are super important, and most people don't realize that because it's kind of a new thing. Like 50 years ago, they were not as important. Like, if you just made healthy choices, back then the lifespan was longer. There's been studies done on centurions, people who live to be 100 years old or more, and they've looked at lots of different things, like why do they live so much longer than their peers or whatever. And some of them had high cholesterol, some of them smoked, some of them drink alcohol, and one thing they could find in common, and these are people from different geographical areas, so not even where they live was a factor, but was how sensitive their cells were to insulin. And so it's very eye-opening. So that is where Plexus comes in. So this pink drink right here, well, let me just start by saying that the Triplex, it comes with 3 products. Pink drink, we have 2 different formulas, 2 different flavors. And this is just a stick pack. You put it in water. It is a health supplement. And you put it in water, it dissolves, you drink it once a day. And then these 2 products, BioCleanse and Probiotic 5, they are capsules. And they all work synergistically together to balance your blood sugar. And I'll talk a little bit more about insulin. And then also get your gut healthy and also reduce inflammation. So here's what we now know this day in age in the medical or the wellness community. The latest research would tell you that almost every single disease, not all of them, because there are some conditions that are genetic and things like that, but the vast majority of health issues that we deal with as Americans can be traced back to the same 3 root issues that cause them. The first one is blood sugar balance, and that has to do with insulin. And the second one is gut health, and the third one is inflammation. So that is exactly what the Triplex addresses. Those 3 products right there address those 3 core issues: blood sugar balance, gut health, and inflammation. So I'm going to start with a pink drink, which you probably have seen. If you're on social media, you've probably seen us posting about it, or hopefully you're already drinking it. But it works by basically making your cells more sensitive to that hormone, insulin. So insulin is the master hormone. It controls either directly or indirectly every other hormone in your body. And God made it to help our bodies. Like, you have to have it. If you don't have it, you die. So, but we only need a teeny tiny little bit of it. It's very, very powerful. So I like to explain it this way. Imagine you're walking into a church beautiful orchestra playing, and she feels peaceful inside, and like everything is just right in the world, and then all of a sudden, the volume is turned up as loud as it can possibly go. The first thing you are going to do is what? You're going to put your hand over your ears, right? You're going to try to block it out, because what once was a very good thing has now become harmful to you. And so that's kind of like insulin. We have to have insulin. Insulin has lots of jobs in our body. It's a multifunction hormone and it does a lot of things, but you only need a little bit. And what the standard American diet does is floods our systems with that hormone, insulin. And that causes our cells to block it out. It's too much. It's harmful. If you have too much insulin in your system, then it causes a lot of diseases, like high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and all kinds of things, like what Christy mentioned, the health benefits of intermittent fasting. It comes from that hormone being lowered. Like she said, your body cannot burn fat if you have high levels of insulin in your blood. So insulin, you want your cells to be very sensitive to it, because it's actually the hormone that's basically like the key that opens the door to every one of the cells in your body. And that's what gets the nutrition. When you eat food and your body digests it, puts it into your bloodstream, insulin is what gets the nutrients out of your bloodstream and into your cells so that your cells can do the work of keeping you alive and making you thrive. If your cells are not opening up, then you're not getting nutrition, not like you should. And a lot of people who are overweight, they think that it's because they're over-nutritioned, but really they feel just hungry a lot because they're undernutritioned. And it is because of that hormone, insulin, what it's doing to your cells. So insulin resistance is what causes things like diabetes and metabolic syndrome, hormone disorders like PCOS. So when you're balancing your insulin, you are balancing all of your hormones, which will balance your whole system. And it does reduce the state of disease, okay? And it reduces inflammation, which is also known as the silent killer. So insulin is really important to your body, and you want low levels of it. The pink drink works by making your cells more sensitive to that hormone. And so sometimes people do lose weight as a side effect of that. I'm not trying to lose weight. I still drink my pink drink every day. I've been taking it for 7 years. And I probably always will, just like I will always brush my teeth every day. And I will always try to move my body, and I will always try to be healthy. Because to me, it's just long-term maintenance. It's just me trying to be healthy for the rest of my life, because I have work to do here, right? While I'm here, I want to be healthy. I don't want to be stuck in a hospital bed, and I don't want to be dependent on prescription drugs and stuff like that. So pink drink works by making yourself more sensitive to insulin, reducing the amount of insulin needed to do the same work. So if you're thinking about like hearing loss, like let's just say you're losing your hearing, you can watch a movie and still hear it, but you're gonna have it louder, right? And if like you're losing your hearing, you gotta turn it louder and louder and louder. And insulin's like that. Like if your cells are blocking it out, then that means your body has to produce more of it to get the same job done. And that's what causes diabetes. Like eventually your pancreas wear out and you're not producing enough insulin any longer, and then you have to inject yourself with insulin and things like that. So a little bit about blood sugar. Now I see how that fits in with intermittent fasting. Like it's a perfect complement, and honestly, any nutrition plan. So I agree with Christy. I don't like diets either. I really hate that word diet, because diets, they're not long term. Like nobody's going to go on a diet for the rest of their life. You're not going to live like that forever. What I do believe in, though, is a nutrition plan. And it's something you need to be intentional about. So I've read a lot of books about food and health. I've read that one. I don't know who brought that book, but that's a great book. My favorite book that I've ever read about losing weight is called Why We Get Fat and What to Do About It. And it talks about the same thing, about that hormone insulin. So not every food has the same effect on your body hormonally. So not every calorie is equal. Like if you eat a candy bar, it doesn't have, even though it might be the same amount of calories as grilled chicken and broccoli and rice, it's not going to have the same effect on you hormonally. And so therefore, it's going to have different health health effects, okay? So not all calories are equal. I do believe in good nutrition, and I also believe in good supplementation. So that's how the pink drink fits in. All right, the next thing is the Probiotic 5, and that's a probiotic. Probiotic just simply means pro-bacteria, right? It's just good bacteria that you're putting in your body. And a lot of, just this day and age, guys, we take so many antibiotics. Average adult, by the time somebody becomes an adult, 18 years old, they've had an average of 17 rounds of antibiotics in their lifetime. And I'm thankful for the technology of antibiotics, because sometimes we do have legitimate infection, and an antibiotic can save somebody's life. But they're overprescribed, and we're just now learning about long-term health effects of 1 round of antibiotic. I mean, it can take your body up to 1 year to recover the microbiome loss out of 1 round of antibiotics, because it does kill off an infection caused by bad bacteria, but it's also wiping out all the good bacteria too. And it takes your body time to recover that. Your microbiome is what keeps you healthy. It's what makes your body thrive. It's affected by, I mean, everything in your body is affected by your microbiome. So if you're struggling with things like autoimmune issues, or migraines, or mood disorders, and mental clarity, and all these things, they are directly related to your gut. And skin problems, all kinds of stuff, digestive issues. Our ancestors, like I said, used to be replenishing that all the time. We don't do that. And so we have to be intentional about it, just like we have to be intentional about exercise. We have to be intentional about replenishing our microbiome, especially after we've had antibiotics. So not only do we not replenish the good stuff on a daily basis, we wipe it out, usually on an annual basis, right? Most people do take an antibiotic once a year. So avoid antibiotics if possible. There's lots of ways that your body can heal itself naturally if you give it the right tools. But that is where our probiotic comes in. So there's lots of probiotics out there. They're not all equal. And I'll just very briefly tell you what makes this one special. And it's different than anything else on the market. It's not just putting the good seed back in. It's also breaking down the yeast overgrowth. So if you take an antibiotic, like the good bacteria in your gut is what keeps the yeast from growing out of control. Everybody's born with a little bit of bad yeast in their gut that scientists can find one job for it, to decompose your body when you die. And so it's necessary for it to be there. But if you've wiped out all of the good stuff that lives in your gut, that is what normally keeps that in check, then the yeast starts growing, like overgrowing, out of control. That's what causes diseases like autoimmune problems. Yeast will literally poke holes in the lining of your gut, and all those digestive juices and things they should be sealed up tight because they're designed to break things down, it leaks out into the rest of your system and causes all kinds of problems, wreak havoc on your health. So you want to not just reseed your gut with the good stuff, but I mean, think about if you were growing a garden. If your gut was a garden, you wouldn't want to just throw seeds out there without taking care of the weeds. The yeast is like weeds. It will choke out the good seeds. So you want to pull the weeds out, and our probiotic doesn't just reseed, it also breaks down the yeast and flushes it out, okay? So that's why the Plexus probiotic is special. And then the last part of the triplex is BioCleanse. So it's got a lot of good stuff in it. The main ingredient is magnesium, and it's a really absorbable form of magnesium. There's a lot, you could get magnesium for really cheap at the dollar store, but it's not really going to do you any good if your body's not able to utilize it. And so this one's really bioavailable. That means your body can use it. And magnesium is important for over 300 processes that take place in your body. And most people, when I say most, about 7 out of 10 people are deficient in magnesium and they don't even realize it. And so there's like tons and tons of symptoms of a magnesium deficiency. But that product is basically the companion to Probiotic 5, and it just opens your detox pathways. Everything that Probiotic 5 has broken down, BioCleanse is going to open your detox pathways, flush it out. It is not an intestinal cleanse. It is White Pants approved. It is just a cellular cleanse, okay? So those 3 products make up the triplex combo, and they work synergistically to balance your blood sugar, which is really important. Not only if you're a diabetic, but like Chrissy said, it's all goes back to insulin. It's important for every single person. Get your gut healthy and reduce inflammation. So inflammation, there's two things that cause inflammation. And I don't mean like inflammation if you sprain your ankle and it swells up. I mean systemic inflammation at the cellular level. It causes a lot of health problems too. And it's caused by two things. Insulin, way too much insulin causes inflammation in your cells, and poor gut health. If you've got a lot of yeast overgrowth and things like that, causes inflammation, okay? So that's why the triplex is important for long-term health, not just weight loss. I know some people are interested in the weight loss component. If you're looking for overnight weight loss or quick weight loss, this is not what you're looking for. This is more of a lifestyle change. This is more of something you're going to add to your daily regimen, just like you would add brushing your teeth every day or working out every day. It's just a part of an overall healthy lifestyle, taking good supplements. So that's how this fits in. Anyone?
That was so good. Do y'all have any questions?
Explained it very well.
Yes.
I've explained it a time or two.
Let me say something about taking supplements. So some people say, well, I have to ask my doctor if I can take this. Nobody has to ask their doctor what they're going to eat every day if they eat well.
Yeah.
And so if you're thinking that because of something, I don't know what the reason would be, that you can't take these supplements because your doctor has to let you know you can take them without asking your doctor. They're just food, is all it is.
Yes,
So-
I agree. And I know all y'all's doctor, and he takes Plexus too. She's
Right.
married to him, right?
Yes, that's right.
But I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
But yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, I mean, supplements are food. There's nothing in there that's going to alter you biochemically or anything like that. It's just filling in the
No matter
gaps.
what kind of medicine you take.
Well, if you're taking thyroid medicine,
Well, yeah.
you want to separate the supplements. Like you don't want to take them within 3 hours, because what it does hormonally. So that's the only thing you do. It doesn't mean you can't take it. You just separate it out.
You want them to both be effective the
Right.
way they intend, and that can
Yes.
alter that.
But thyroid problems are inherited, or they?
Thyroid problems are caused by everything I just talked about, blood sugar imbalances. You can heal your thyroid. Like you can actually, your body can heal itself. The thyroid, it's a slower heal, but it can heal, and the way you do it is by keeping your blood sugar very, very stable. Yep. And I
Well,
have
I think people ask me about if they don't have a thyroid.
Yes.
Well, they can't heal that.
Like.
No, you can't. Your thyroid's not good for that.
That's gone.
Yeah. I have friends who have no thyroid, who take supplements, and I don't know what exactly happens if you don't have a thyroid. I think they actually have to take some kind of synthetic.
It takes longer to see the results. I have 3 people on my team that take Plexus, and it took them all 4 months to see a difference. So if they're willing to stay on it, they will see a difference, but it took 4 months.
So I have a thyroid problem. I take Synthroid for underactive thyroid. So all 3 of those need to be spaced 3 hours from.
So do you take them for the first thing in the morning? Okay, so then you'd wait and take them about lunch. Well, the probiotic take at bedtime. But
Yeah,
Slim and
but-
BioCleanse, you can take it before lunch. You want to
What about the pink?
The pink drink is the Slim,
Okay,
Plexus
so-
Slim. And you would take that before lunch.
Have you noticed any difference with where?
I was trying to think my time. I usually take it at like 6, so I'm usually not taking any of that until probably 9 or 10. So I've been good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Good. I didn't know you
We'll tell you something about
probiotic.
probiotic. I told Janet, I said, it's causing me not to be able to sleep good at night because, and sleep well. And she said, oh, no. Well, come to find out there was someone else that had the same problem. The Probiotic affects my sleeping. I can take it in the morning time, and I'm fine. If I take it at night, I cannot sleep well. And I don't know what it is about it.
Well, it's gonna detox you, and different organs of your body flush out at different hours. So I wonder if I don't know, maybe you need to do like a litter cleanse or something.
But I mean, I did realize that, and now
You changed it.
I changed it, and I'm having
says that different people, have to kind of see what works for them and change it up, because you take the Vitalins at night, because the magnesium, I take mine in the morning, so. Yeah, so and then, changing her Probiotic 5 to in the morning was more effective for her health, versus at night, which is how I take it. So it really is, I mean, we're all different.
Mm-hmm.
And so finding what works best, and how you take care of yourself.
Maybe it's Liz.
Like,
I can tell you what take that.
Everybody's system is different. I mean, think about like if your family gets like a stomach bug, like everybody's gonna have a different system. It's gonna hit everybody differently, and people will respond to it. And like if your doctor was putting you on a drug, like you would have to adjust dosages and things like that. So you will have to play around with it a little bit and see what works best with your system, because it will be different for everybody.
That was so great, ladies. Thank y'all so much for it. Stop that. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank y'all so much for